It's the Brad and John Show.
And today's date is July 9th. It is a Wednesday, hump day, as Shelley used to always say. And you know what that means, John? It's the B block. You know what that means?
What does that mean, Brad?
It means it's time for...
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
Yes. And the ladies have to sing it twice, otherwise I won't be happy. Ladies, one more time.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
And how do we start it off with, John?
What do we start it off with, Brad? Is it number 19 or is it, I don't know, number 3?
It's number 3.
John, I hope I didn't bother you, but in your last segment in A block, our previous block, I sent you a picture, and you were somewhat surprised at the picture.
Oh, yeah, it was what the kids call a jump scare, Brad.
Okay, who is that picture I just sent you? Take a guess.
I would say it is a woman that was found, I would say, let me guess here. She was outside Bangert Park. Her family moved out of Florissant decades ago as part of white flight, but she stayed in an apartment, and she now has some meth issues. And cops picked her up because she was soliciting cigarettes and cash outside of Bangert Park in Florissant.
Okay,
am I in the ballpark?
Describe the picture of the woman. Describe what she looks like, John.
There is a woman that's got a little gooseneck going on. She looks like she's probably her natural hair color is red. She looks like one of those women that's probably only 55, but she looks like she's 65. She looks like she's crying, and she has a necklace on that looks like something you would purchase at the checkout counter point of sale at Walgreens.
John, that is Mary Lou Retton.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that is a mug.
And you mean the former Olympic star.
Yes.
This is Mary Lou Retton in this picture?
That is Mary Lou Retton.
Wow. Okay. Maybe she's not hanging out outside Bangor Park
Yes.
unless they have some sort of a gymnastics thing going on.
Very cute and attractive and bubbly Mary Lou Retton, who is the Olympics champion, who got arrested for drunk driving. Okay.
Oh, no. Really?
Yes, true story. Okay, there's two things I'm going to say here. I'm going to mention two names, Mary Lou Retton and Gary Pinkel. Okay, I'm going to show my bias for something. As a young man, matter of fact, I think I started my job a couple days after I turned 18. I was a police dispatcher. Did that job for 3 years, worked my way through college as a police dispatcher. Okay, I saw so much carnage and so much death and injuries and human suffering because of drunk driving. This is way back when before pre-MAD and you know, everybody drove. I shouldn't say everybody, but lots of people drove drunk. It wasn't unusual. And I worked at a department in Illinois, and this is when Illinois still had the 19-year-old beer and wine rule. That was probably way too long time ago for you, John. And the usual ritual was the Missouri kids would drive across the river, 270 North County, 5570 going to the East St. Louis bars, or 255 going to the Monroe County bars and Dupo and places like that, and get tanked up and then drive back into Missouri and cause accidents on the interstates in Illinois and Missouri. Okay, I saw so much of this and wrote so many stupid reports that I have been like inoculated that I will never ever in my life, and I'm not trying to say what a wonderful guy I've never driven drunk. Okay. Here's what I don't get about people like Mary Lou Retton and Gary Pinkel. They got some jingle in their pocket. You know what I mean? They're not down to their last dime like me, okay? And to the point where there's this amazing app on your phone. Matter of fact, two apps. One of them is called Uber and one of them called Lyft. Plus, not only that, they probably have lots of friends that they could just pull up their contact list and say, okay, I've had too much to drink. Let me call Jimmy or let me call Joanne. Come pick me up. They both got arrested for drunk driving. And I think Gary Pinkel, I think this is like his second or third time. I mean,
yeah, I was really disappointed by the Pinkel news. I hadn't heard Mary Lou Retton. I agree with you, Brad. I mean, they certainly have. I think in Pinkel's case, you would assume he has a ton of friends, 24 hours a day. Particularly young men who look up to him.
Exactly.
Who are single, who would hop in their car and give him a ride. But like you said, Brad, you could avoid all that just by using Uber.
But especially, you know damn well that Mary Lou Retton has, I mean, even if someone's not a real close friend of Mary Lou Retton, and the phone rang, and you saw her name come up, and you go, and she goes, hey, I'm in a bar, had too much to drink, will you come pick me up? Yes, Mary, I'll be right there. And like example you gave, how many Mizzou grads are there who remember the wonderful days of Mizzou football with Gary Pinkel, that if Gary called them and said, you know what, I'm at a friend's house, I had a little bit too much to drink, or I'm not necessarily a friend's house, but at a bar or party or bar mitzvah or whatever, wherever he's at, come and pick me up. And I will say this right now. My phone number is 314-280-8880. I don't know who you are. You could be one of my friends. You could be one of my listeners. If you get tanked up and you get drunk and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, I answer the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you don't want to drive, call me. I will come pick you up. I've said this to my kids. I've said this to my friends. There's no excuse for this. Zero. None. And the problem is, I say this in my impassioned plea. I typed back in the day when we typed reports. I typed too many reports where drunk driver smashes into a car full of, family, kills 2 kids, kills mom and dad. Drunk driver breaks his finger. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and it's to the point where it's like, okay, don't like it. Okay, I'm done with that. Have I meant my point on that one?
I think you have, Brad. Well done.
It's time for Brad's number 2.
It is. And we'll kind of talk
It's
RECA.
time for Brad's number 2.
John, explain what RECA stands for.
Radiation Exposure Compensation Act.
Now, you see, I brought this up again was it Monday? And you said I talked about it last week. To me, this is a big deal, a BFD kind of thing, okay? Because of the fact that this has been a problem, you and I being NoCo boys, you and I personally know people who have no longer with us because of cancer and things like that. I mean, I know personally, I know people, you probably do as well too, correct?
I don't know anybody who claims that their health maladies are due to Mallinckrodt's radiation, no. But I know that it does exist, and I know that a lot of people claim that their health maladies come from radiation.
Well, this to me is a perfect example of the federal government being jerkazoids, okay? They knew this was a problem, and I've told the story. Matter of fact, I just texted Mark Cox this morning. He was talking about this, and I gave my example of how the government is still not telling the truth about what happened on McDonald Boulevard. And matter of fact, I got to go back up there and see if they've opened back up again. Remember, we talked about this, early this year, about the fact they say, oh, we have to replace the bridge in McDonald.
Yeah, we talked about it. We talk about it often, Brett.
Right. When there was no bridge, it was a culvert, and the reason they did that was because the McDonald was built on all the radioactive soil that they finally, never really admitted, because if you know the whole story, the big dump was on the north side of the airport, right next to Coldwater Creek. That's how most of the radiation got in Coldwater Creek, right from the north side of the airport. They had a remediation site for a long time on the south side of McDonald. You can still drive by there today. Well, I don't know if you can. It's probably still closed. But you had the trailers, you had the guys in moon suits digging up dirt. Well, then they went onto the north side of McDonald, where there used to be baseball fields, where yours truly used to play some baseball when my little league teams were in championships against other leagues. And then I umpired at those. And matter of fact, I know a lot of people that lived in North County that worked for various organizations that had softball leagues that played in those fields. They're gone. You know why they're gone? Because they found out the radiation was on the north side of McDonald. And then they came out and said, oh, we have to replace the bridge on McDonald. No, the reason they tore up McDonald, there was a culvert there. There was no bridge because the soil underneath McDonald was radioactive. But yet, would the government come out and say that? No. They're going to say, oh, the bridge is bad. We have to tear it down and rebuild it. Well, the problem was there was no bridge there. There was a culvert. And remember, I drove up there. Remember, did I send you the pictures?
You've told this story many, many times, Brett.
It's bull. Bothers me to no end. Okay, you ready for number 1?
I sure am.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
It is Brad's number 1. Now, John, I know my top 3 has been a little bit on the rant side, and you know what? I ain't done yet. That's what. John, this is COVID hangover, okay? There was a time when you can go into the county executive building in downtown St. Louis County or the county government building in downtown St. Charles for St. Charles County, okay? And you could walk in the front door, and there was an elevator, and there was a list of all the different departments on all the different floors. And you could say, oh, I want to go check on a deed for a piece of property. And you'd hit floor number 4 in St. Louis and St. Charles County. I think it was floor number 3 in St. Louis County. When COVID came along, they shut down the elevators. Matter of fact, in St. Louis County, they actually built a if you know that building, when you go into the main building there, when you just get past the metal detectors, which were put in there by our buddy Steve Stenger, because previous to that, you didn't have to go through metal detectors going in that building. Anyway, if you went in that building, you made a left, there were 4 elevators, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. You can't get those elevators anymore. So you know what the procedure is now, John, in both St. Louis County and St. Charles County? You know what the procedure is?
Let me guess. You have to wait in the lobby. You have to go through scanners. And then let me guess. Are there iPad little stations set up and you have to have somebody call down and they have to let you in?
Well, have you done this before, or I've talked about this before?
No, you tell the story once a month.
Okay. I tell the story once a month. Okay. Can I
What's the procedure, Brad?
Well, that's exactly what it is. And it's exactly the same stupid thing in St. Charles County. You walk in the door, they have this little iPads on little stands. The problem is when you touch it, the stand rocks back and forth. You got to grab the thing and type the stuff in. And you got to, no, seriously, you got to put your phone number in, and then you get a thing on your phone that says, someone will be down from the deed office to talk to you. And 20 minutes later, somebody walks off the stairs. And a couple times when I've gone into the research room, same procedure. The nice lady who walked me up there, took me in the elevator, walked me up there. I go, why do they do this? And she says, well, it was for COVID, but the employees here, we really like the fact that we don't have taxpayers coming in our office anymore. Okay.
Now, she obviously didn't say that verbatim. You're interpreting what she said, but she probably said something close to that.
Swear to God. Exactly what she said. Swear to God. Didn't have taxpayers coming in their office anymore. Because, they want to just sit there. They don't want to be bothered by you and me, the people who are paying their salaries. They don't want that. Okay, so last week, this is in St. Louis County. Last week, I had a little bit of a problem. I have a piece of real estate in St. Louis County. I won't go into the details, but I got a letter that said I owed X amount of dollars. And one is a lot, like it was 100 and... Actually, I got a letter that said I owed money, and if I didn't do this by such and such a date, I could lose my piece of property, okay? So I called the lady on the phone, has a phone number. She calls me back. Once again, she didn't answer the phone live. I got voicemail. She calls me back, and this is July 3rd. This is Thursday. And she says, okay, I can't tell you on the phone how much. I said ballpark. She says, I'm not going to give you ballpark. I'll give you the exact number. I have to send it to you in email. Fine. Calculate the number. She sends it back to me. Off the top of my head, I think it was $183.69. We're not talking about a lot of money. And she puts in the letter, it has to be paid on July 7th, which was Monday, because if I waited to July 8th, the numbers would change because the interest rate wouldn't change, okay? So she puts in the letter that I'm supposed to go into the St. Louis County office building. I'm supposed to go up to the little kiosk. I'm supposed to hit this button, and she says what the button is. Then once I hit that button, I'm supposed to go to window number 11, okay? So I go in. A nice young lady comes over to help me, and I said, okay, I showed her I had the letter, and I said, okay, where's this on the kiosk thing? And she says, I don't know. She says, it's not on there. And I go, well, the letter says I'm supposed to punch this button on the kiosk, and there's no button for that. She says, I don't know what to tell you. So I go, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and I hit a button, okay? This was at 4:20 on Monday afternoon, okay? I already had my phone number in there. It texted me, and I get a text that says, please report to, or no, it didn't say, but here's the other part of the story, which is sort of funny. It says, your wait time is 67 minutes. Okay, John, it's 4:20. Do the math on that. What time?
Yeah, but county employees are known for working overtime to deliver superior customer service.
Okay, what's wrong with that picture? The place closes at 5 o'clock. It says my wait time is 67 minutes, and there's like me and 4 people in the entire first floor of the building. I'm telling you, it's like deserted. And all the windows, there's nobody at the windows. So the letter says, I look at the letter and it says, report to window 11. Matter of fact, what's funny is I put this up on my Boomer Facebook page, and I got lots of funny pictures about this. I sat at window number 11, and what does the sign on window number 11 say?
It says, we'll be back tomorrow.
No, it says, here, let me bring up, I read it exactly as I took the picture. Let me see if I can find it here real quick. Window 11, Hold it. I got it here. Okay. No. Where is it? Hold on a minute. I took a picture and put those. Okay, here. Window number 11 says marriage licenses only. So I'm sitting at window number 11 waiting for a real estate person to come down, and no real estate person comes down. And I'm sitting at window 11, just like it's, did I read this wrong? And I go back and I read the letter again. It says window 11. So finally, here's the problem. I have a cashier's check. And I'm going like, okay, she says the money's going to be different tomorrow. So I go to the cashier and I say, look, I showed her my letter. I said, can I just pay this? And she goes and thinks, well, that's the wrong amount. I go, I don't care. Take my money, put it in the system, and let me leave. So she brings the supervisor over. I'm there 10 minutes. They're telling, what are we going to do? So finally they go, okay, fine. We put it in the system. Here's your receipt. So yesterday morning, I get not one, not two, but 3 phone calls from the St. Louis County people chastising me for doing things wrong. And I said to the one lady, she says, well, did you go to window 15? I go, no, I went to window 11. She says, well, that's the wrong window. I go, no, S. Sherlock. I didn't say that to her, but, essentially I said.
Yeah, I get it.
I said.
So they had provided incorrect information.
Well,
you followed the incorrect information, and then you get in trouble for following their incorrect directions.
But she denied that someone would have told me to go to window 11. And I said, look, I'm not trying to cause any problems. I did what I was supposed to do. I showed up. And then she says, well, you got there too late. And I go, doesn't the place close at 5? She says, yes, but most of us, we pretty much wind things up at 4:30. And I'm going like, okay, here we go. Government hard at work, right? They open to 5.
Yeah, I like it, Brad. That's a good work ethic.
Imagine you going to McDonald's, they close at 11, and you get there at 10, and they go, oh, sorry, we can't finish any food. We close at 11. Well, it's 10 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, we turned off the grill already. Okay,
and
fine.
then they tell you that they don't have any Big Macs.
Right, they don't have any Big Macs. Okay, so the interesting part of this story is after I talked to three different people, I get an email from one of these. You ready for this, John?
I am.
No one is disputing what you did. You did what you were instructed to do. Her email, this is one lady talking about the other, just gave you the wrong window. NSS, which stands for no Sherlock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It should have been window 15. NSS. Okay. The person that helped you at the kiosk should have also selected this department, and you would have been automatically been sent to window 15. The reason she couldn't select it on the kiosk is because there was not anything on the kiosk according to the letter. It said, press this button, and we both read the letter together, and she looked at the kiosk, and she goes, there's no button for that. Okay. Government at work. It drives me nuts.
It seems wildly inefficient, Brad.
Oh, NSS, John. I mean, it's to the point
really,
where...
from their perspective, the only person's time that they wasted was yours.
But
so
see, here's the problem. In the old days, I could have walked into the building. I could have taken the elevator to the 4th floor. I could have walked into their office and said, hey, I'm here. I need to pay this. Can I take care of this right now? And they go, oh, yeah. But no, they're in their little offices, towers, and you have to go through the stupid thing, and they have to come down and help you. It's the same stupid thing in St. Charles County, and it sucks.
But do you think those employees could finish their game of Candy Crush if they had a bunch of taxpayers annoying them all the time?
I have to tell you, John.
When would they have time to film their TikToks if they have the Brad Hildebrands of the world knocking on their door?
See, once upon a time, I've told this before, I was out in line trying to pay my taxes in St. Charles County, and there's 2 women behind the glass talking back and forth, and I'm listening. I'm like number 3 in line. They're talking back and forth. One lady says, I went to so-and-so restaurant the other night. We had terrible service. And the lady says, I've been there too, and the service is not that great. And the other lady says, yes, I was tempted to call the manager over and say, fire this woman. She's a terrible waitress.
What'd you say when you got to the window, Brad?
I said to them, I said, hey, I'm getting bad service here. Who do I talk to about getting one of you fired? And the one lady snapped back at me. She says, we're government employees. We can't be fired.
That's the spirit. That's the spirit.
So, John, how was my top 3 today?
It was wonderful, Brad. I think it was good. I mean, we talked about RECA again. I think it might be time to put RECA to bed. I feel like you and I have talked about it for, a good 20% of our shows since we started in November of 23. Maybe we could put RECA to bed for a while.
We're John, being North County boys, it's very important to us because it has impacted the way we lived, and unfortunately for probably a couple more generations, which is sad to think about. And the fire still burns out there at Westlake Landfill. So there. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you mean.
Okay, we'll be back.